Okay, so here we are. It's a class 7 and a lesson 1, and what we're going to talk about right now is designing products that people want to buy. And I hope you listen to the podcast already. Matt McQueen does just a brilliant job of talking about the design process and how important it is to pay attention to the consumer, what the consumer wants. And some of his examples are they're so simple, right? But he kind of talks about the struggle of getting to the answer. And once you have the answer, it feels so simple, but in the process, sometimes it's not. And what I want to talk about is the power of listening to your customer and how important it is to pay attention to their behavior. And I think there's a couple of different things here. I mean, one, of course, we have to listen, right? And we hear things from customers, but I think it's more important to pay attention to their behavior as they're engaging your product and buying your product. For example, in my company, I mean, we heard over the years constantly from people that they wanted a healthy option. They wanted a healthy snack for their kids. They wanted us to bring that to market. And I'll tell you, I mean, we did it many times because there was this just amazing drumbeat of people that wanted healthy products. Problem was, when we do it, nobody would buy them. And it was just a fact. I mean, we couldn't get around the fact that we'd roll out a healthier product and we just wouldn't sell it. And so, we realized that that's not what our customers were coming to us for. And, it's getting better at this point, and we're starting to roll out some healthier stuff, and people are starting to engage it, which is good. But, the issue is really paying attention to what the consumer is doing with your product and how they're using your product and what they're buying and what they're buying the most of. And I still think one of the great stories of this was Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. And I think I mentioned this in a video earlier, but when he was started, it was just a directory, essentially an electronic phone book to locate people, and that was a novel concept at the time. But all of a sudden, he started to realize that people were changing out their profile pictures on a very regular basis. And what that meant to him is that people wanted to share pictures, and ultimately they wanted to share their lives. And so what he did was he took his team, made them focus in on making that process simple and easy, and so people could change out their pictures and share pictures, and then it became share multiple pictures, store multiple pictures, so people could really begin to tell a story. And that, if he hadn't noticed that, if he hadn't queued up on that behavior, Facebook would never have become what Facebook is today. I think Steve Jobs was the quintessential entrepreneur of our time, but what I find is that the lore of Steve Jobs is kind of maybe getting in the way of the way people think about entrepreneurship, because Steve Jobs said, well, what you need to do is you need to design products that people aren't even aware they need yet or think we don't have the capability to produce. Sure. If we could all do that, right? That would be beautiful. The problem is I hope you're the next Steve Jobs, honest. But like, most of us aren't Steve Jobs. We aren't that visionary. And so what we need to do is we need to really pay attention to the pain points that are occurring in the day-to-day lives, and then try to come up with products to solve those pain points. And we might get lucky, and we might create something as forward-thinking as the iPod, or some of the other things that Pixar did with animation. And so anyway, Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs, but I think we have this inferiority complex now as entrepreneurs that we all need to be that visionary and that forward-thinking. And I don't think you need to create a great business, a great enterprise. The other thing that we need to do in this process of listening and to our customers, paying attention to their behavior and designing products is we can begin to create new products with our existing customer base and begin to add revenue to our company, because we know what our customers want and they trust us in the category in which we serve them. So, I think one of the cool examples of this in the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years, has been Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they rent cars, and we all trust Enterprise. They've got a great reputation, and so. But what they've done now is they've started ride sharing. They've started something called Commute. They're doing long-term rentals, and they're also selling their cars, kind of like a used car sales lot type thing. So Enterprise has they've listened to their customers, they've learned what their customers want, and they've begun to leverage the relationship they have with their customers to sell them more products and then generate more revenue, which I just think is beautiful, right? And we all need to be thinking that way as entrepreneurs. But the sort of last thing I want to talk about here is you've got to be crystal clear about the problem you're solving with your product, and stay really focused on that problem, because those problems change, those problems shift. And that's consumer behavior changing and shifting, right? But if you're aware of the problem you're solving, then you can cater your product, alter your product to that problem and the way it's shifting. So I think that's a really important shift in mindset. Is we don't develop products. We solve problems. The products we create are to solve those problems. And so when you're in the marketplace, you have to be paying attention to the problem. So, another thing that occurs out there in the world is that a problem might become a bigger problem with, let's say, a shifting in the age of the population. So I've got a great example of a business that a friend of mine started, where, he has been in the residential real estate business forever. And what he noticed is, with the boomers ballooning up the age of the population that need assisted living, he realized that the boomers, there's a lot of really rich boomers, but there weren't any really nice assisted living facilities. And so my friend stepped into that space, and he's building these assisted living facilities that are like going to stay at the Four Seasons. No joke. I mean, they are high end. Everything is perfect. The service levels are extraordinary. And he's building these, massive projects. He's building them as quickly as he can, and he's selling them out, right? And so what happened there is the problem was assisted living. But the real problem that he solved was, there's a bunch of rich people out there that needed assisted living that sure as heck weren't going to stay in the facilities that were available at the time. And so he's going into wealthier communities, he's building these things, and he's selling them out instantly. Before he ever completes them, they've been sold out. So that's a really good example of being crystal clear about the problem you're solving, which is making sure that your product is servicing that need, that problem, and then going from there. So that's what I wanted to add to Matt's conversation. Again, listen to Matt's podcast. It's extraordinarily well done. Very, very bright guy. I enjoyed listening to it. I learned from it. So thanks for your time. And for my fellow entrepreneurs out there, keep it simple, keep it clean, stay focused, keep grinding, and go get them.